When my wife and I divorced, I didn't ask for the house, the cars, or a dime of her family's money. I asked for her grandfather. Her brother actually shook my hand at the signing, like I'd agreed to haul away an old couch. Rewind. 9 years of marriage. I found out about her and her work conference friend the boring way. A hotel folio in a coat pocket for a weekend she'd spent, allegedly, at her sister's. I didn't blow up. I made coffee, went to work, and started thinking clearly for the first time in years. And the strange thing is, the person I kept thinking about wasn't her. It was Walt. Walt was her grandfather, 81, a widower living alone 40 minutes away in the house where he'd raised her mother. In 9 years, I can count on one hand the times her family visited him, and I was driving for most of them. To them, he was a logistics problem. At every holiday, they'd discuss him in the third person while he sat right there. The plan, openly discussed, was to move him into a facility and sell his place, including the garage workshop he'd kept for 60 years. Her brother called the workshop a fire hazard full of junk. Here's what that junk-filled fire hazard actually was: the place where I'd spent the best hours of my marriage. Walt was the only person in that family who ever asked me a question and waited for the answer. When my father died, my wife gave me a week to get back to normal. Walt showed up at my job with 2 sandwiches and sat with me in my truck, not saying anything, which was exactly right. He told me once, wiping down a chisel, "You married the family, son. Nobody warns you about that part." So when the divorce came, and she admitted everything with the emotional register of someone canceling a subscription, I made it easy. She could have it all. One condition: I'd take over everything regarding Walt. His care, his living situation, his decisions, formally, on paper, with the family's blessing in writing. They didn't just agree. Her mother sent me a check for $10,000 for transition expenses, so fast it beat the signed decree to my mailbox. They were paying me to take him. I cashed it, because pride doesn't cover first and last month's rent on a 2-bedroom with a garage. When I told Walt, this man who barely spoke above a mutter, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I'll bring my tools. Everything else in that house belongs to a life that's finished with me anyway." The first months were simple and good. He fixed everything in the apartment that had ever squeaked. He made stew on Sundays. Then one evening he watched me struggling to repair a client's antique desk drawer. I do handyman work, and he made a sound like a disappointed teacher and took over. 20 minutes later, the drawer glided like it was floating. That's when he finally told me what the family had never bothered to learn. Before I knew him, Walt had spent 30 years as a furniture restorer for estates and auction houses. There were pieces he'd worked on in museums. His own daughter thought he'd worked in a shop. You can see where this went. We started taking restoration jobs together. His hands and his knowledge, my hauling and bookkeeping. Word travels fast in the antiques world when someone can actually do French polishing correctly. Within a year, we had a wait list. Within 2, we leased a real workshop with his name first on the sign, Walter and Son Restoration, which is not accurate by blood and completely accurate by every other measure. He works mornings only now, doctor's orders, and spends afternoons criticizing my joinery, which I believe is what's keeping him alive. Her side of the ledger went differently. The conference friend moved into the house I surrendered. Mutual friends tell me the renovation budget became a war, then a lawsuit with the contractor, then just a war. Her brother's real estate thing collapsed. The family money that made them so untouchable at holiday dinners turned out to be mostly leverage. Last month, Walt's phone rang during dinner. His granddaughter. First call in nearly 3 years. She left a voicemail. Warm, nostalgic, wondering how grandpa's little business was doing, mentioning hard times, wondering if family could help family. He listened to it twice. Then he deleted it, picked his fork back up, and said the finest sentence I've ever heard from that side of the family. "They gave me away for $10,000. Tell her the market's gone up and I'm no longer for sale."